Hey guys, welcome to my first ever deck tech. This is a blue-green elf tribal deck. It's EDH, and it's mainly 1v1, so keep that in mind. It's an elf tribal deck. It's all about getting your elves out as fast as possible, giving them trample, getting them large, and beating some face. The commander is Edric by Master of Trest. This is a god-awful proxy that my sister made. He's a 2/2 for 3. And he's going to draw you a bunch of cards. And like I said, I mainly play 1v1, so I'm the only one that benefits from him. But if you play multiplayer, be aware that your opponents will get the benefit too. This deck has 14 basic forests. I'm not going to go through all of them, but they're all pretty old frames. And I run 5 basic islands. The reason I run so many basic forests is I want Raphelos to tap for a lot. And there's just not a need for that much mana fixing in this deck. 90% of your deck is green. Actually, probably more than that. So just getting a forest is just as good. These are the non-basic lands that I run. I've got a Wirewood Lodge. Early on, it's just going to produce colorless mana, so it might not be the best thing. But being able to pay a green and or tap it, untap target elf, works really well with all your big mana producers. Your Raphelos, your Priest of Titania, Elvish Archdruid, just really good. Got an Orin Reef the Vastwood. I love this card. Although it enters tapped, it can produce a green, but it can tap and put a 1/1 counter on each green creature that entered the battlefield this turn. This is really solid because you're going to be playing at least 3 to 4 elves each turn if your deck works right. So just giving them all little 1/1s or little 1/1 counters is nice. Plus, there are ways in this deck to manipulate 1/1 counters. Got a Manamo School at Water's Edge. It doesn't come in tapped, so it's pretty much an island, but better. It is legendary, though. And for a blue, you can tap it and untap target legendary permanent. This works really well with Raphelos and Gaia's Cradle. Speaking of, Gaia's Cradle. It is a legendary land. Most expensive card in my deck, a present from my sister, thank you. You tap it, add a green to your mana pool for each creature you control. You're going to have a lot of elves out. It's really nice. And again, with Manamo, you can untap it. Hinterland Harbor, just a buddy land in the colors of the deck. Breeding Pool, yeah, fetchable with the 2 fetches I have in here. And untappable with Arbor Elf, which is nice. 2 fetches I have are Misty Rainforest and Verdant Catacombs. I don't really have a crap load of fetches, mainly because I ain't made of money. Got a Cavernous Holes, really good for mana fixing, and being able to run all of your big mana producers or your more important elves out there and not have to worry about them getting countered is really nice. Got a Dryad Arbor, fetchable with Green Sun Zenith, which is nice, get some early ramp in there, and it's also a creature, so you can pump it up with Kamal, if you choose to. Got a Reliquary Tower. Again, it sucks it only produces colorless mana, but not having a maximum hand size, or tu mano no tien tamaño máximo. I have no idea. Spanish. But not having a maximum hand size is really nice. With Edric, you're going to be drawing a lot of cards. You might not be able to cast them all at certain times, so not having to throw them into your graveyard if you have 7 or more cards is nice. Here we are starting into our ramp package. We've got the basic, just producing a green elves. We've got Llanowar Elves, Findhorn Elves, got an Arbor Elf. Again, you can untap your breeding pool, get 2 islands if you need it. And also, there is an enchantment we're going to go over a little bit later, which makes Arbor Elf really nice, kind of turns it into a mini Priest of Titania on a land. Got Heritage Druid. If you're not planning on blocking or attacking, which you mostly will, but if you need a little bit of extra mana, you can tap through untapped elves, add some green. Really nice. Draga Tree Speaker, a leveler. You're going to have a lot of mana. You can level them up to 5 fairly fast and just make all your elves produce a crap ton of mana. Burstlore Rangers, good early fixing. Not that you need it that much, but if you do, the option's available. I never morph him, because, I mean, it really doesn't matter. A 2/2 isn't going to make a huge difference in EDH. Gyre Sage, again, there's ways to manipulate 1/1 counters. So he's gonna get, she's gonna get, it's gonna get, I think it's a she. She's gonna get pretty big, which is nice. And again, tap for a lot of mana. Got Raphaelos, yeah, bad boy. Finally just replaced my proxy with the actual card. Super excited about that. But he's crazy. Banned as a general in Commander. But tap it, add 1 green mana to your mana pool for each forest you control. That's why I run so many basic forests. I want him to tap for a lot of mana. Priest of Titania. Good thing about this card is not only does it tap and add a forest for each elf you control, it adds it for each elf your opponents control. So it's just every elf in play. So you can get a little bit extra mana off of your opponents if they have an Oracle of Moldiah, Quellian Oracle, or any other kind of elf they might have thrown in their deck. Elvish Archdruid counts as a lord, which is nice, but also taps and adds a green to your mana pool for each elf in play, or each elf you control. Sorry. So double benefits. He's just awesome. Got an Elvish Guidance. This was the enchantment I was talking about with Arbor Elf. You can enchant one of your forests, and whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds green to his mana pool for each elf in play. So again, Priest of Titania's ability, put it on a forest, untap that forest with Arbor Elf. You can add so much mana. Oracle of Moldiah, an amazing card. I have it in every EDH or every green EDH deck I can. It's just that good. Not only does it help you ramp up early on, but late game, you can get rid of a lot of the dead draws that are just lands on the top of your library, which is pretty solid. And we got Wirewood Channeler. Again, fixing if you need it. A 2/2 for 4, and you tap it and add X mana of any one color to your mana pool, where X is the number of elves in play. So again, not just your elves, it counts your opponents. And it's any color you want. So, not too shabby. And then here we are getting into the section of lords, pumps, and ways to manipulate 1/1 counters. We got Jiraga Warcaller. Really good to multi-kick him later on. Like I said, you could have so much mana. I mean, tap a Raphaelos, untap a Raphaelos, tap a Raphaelos again. You're going to have a lot of mana. And you can kick him so many times. And all your guys are going to get huge, and he'll have a bunch of 1/1 counters on him that you can manipulate later. Gem Palm Strider. Cycling, you never know. You might just need that one extra card. But the good thing is, when you cycle it, all elves get +2/+2 until the end of turn. So a nice little mini pump. But if anything, he's a 2/2 for 2 if you decide to just play him, so not bad. And I think the art's pretty damn cool. Zemet Guildmage. 1/1 manipulation. He's a 2/2 for both colors. You can pretty much Oran Reef the Vastwood for a green and a blue. And then you can remove 1/1 counters for the same cost and draw a card. Probably shouldn't need to use that ability because Edric's going to draw you a lot, but if you need that ability, it's there. It's always nice to have options. Bramblewood Paragon. This guy's a beast. A 2/2 for 2. Each other warrior creature you control comes into play with an additional 1/1 counter on it. There are ways in this deck to make warrior tokens, so to give each of those an additional 1/1 counter is really nice. But the important ability here is the second one of each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has trample. That is so nice. You need trample. You need to just be able to just throw all your guys at your opponent, get through with a lot of damage. I love this guy. Got Imperious Perfect. Another elf lord. All elves get +1/+1, or that you control. But you could pay a green tapper and put a 1/1 elf warrior, again with Bramblewood Paragon, token into play. Really nice to just keep getting a bunch of little 2/2s out there with Bramblewood Paragon, or whatever other pumps you have out. You could be putting out like 10/10s. It gets pretty crazy. Got a Zuri Renegade Leader. A 2/2 for 3. This guy has very, very good abilities, and he is a legendary elf. For the just pay a green ability, you can regenerate another target elf. The good thing about this is you can do it many, many times per turn. So you can actually, with the mana available, prevent a board wipe just by regenerating every elf you have. Or you could pay 2 colorless and 3 green, and elf creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until the end of turn. You can do that ability more than once a turn. So with the mana you with the mana you have available, you're going to be able to get them +9/+9 in trample, and so on and so forth. It gets pretty crazy and out of hand if people don't stop you. Evolution Vet. Artifact for 3 colorless. You can pay 3 colorless, tap target creature, put a 1/1 counter on it. Until the end of turn, it has the ability 2 colorless, a green and a blue, double the number of 1/1 counters on this creature. Works really well with Gyre Sage or your Jiraga Warcaller, or pretty much any creature that just has a bunch of 1/1 counters on it that you want to get through. Elvish Champion. The only downside to this guy is I keep forgetting he's not an elf. He's just a lord. So I have him triggering some certain things that only trigger when elves come into play, and I find myself correcting it a lot. But I'll get better. I'll realize it. But he is a 2/2, and he is an elf lord. All elves get +1/+1 and have Forest Walk. Forest Walk is nice. Green's very common in EDH. Having that ability just helps. And we have Varel of the Hulklade, a 1/4 for 3. This is a new addition from Dragon's Maze. For green and a blue, tap him, and for each counter on target artifact, creature, or land, put another one of those counters on that permanent. So not only can you bump up your Gyre Sage, your Jiraga Warcaller, or any creature that just has a bunch of 1/1 counters on it, you can also increase the number of counters on your Door of Destinies. Now this is a horrible simplified like Chinese Door of Destinies. I want an English one. I just saw that it's coming out in M14, so yeah. But Door of Destinies, you're going to be choosing Elf since you can't read what it is. Door of Destinies, when it comes into play, choose a creature type. Every time you cast a spell of that type, you're going to put a charge counter on Door of Destinies, and all creatures of that type get a +1/+1 for however many counters that are on it. So, say you play like 6 elves with Door of Destinies out. You have 6 counters on it. Varel, you just tap him. You can make it 12. So you could just you could get your guys super big, super fast, and that's really what it's all about. Hokey pokey. We got Immaculate Magistrate, a 2/2 for 4, for the simple cost of tapping her. Him, it. I have a really hard time. They do not put boobs on elves. I'm sorry. On most of them, I can't tell. And all elves have long hair. Anyways, a 2/2 for 4. Tap it. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature for each elf you control. Again, you're going to have a lot of elves out. You're going to be able to make some giant creatures again. Jiraga Warcaller, Gyre Sage. It's just really nice. Master Biomancer, a 2/4 for 4. Your guys are... He's going to get big with the pumps you have and the lords you have. And the other elves you play when he's out are going to get even bigger with the additional 1/1 counters on him, or counters on them equal to his power. It gets nice. You're going to have a very large army in this deck. Coat of Arms. This card sucks because it slows the game down, at least with the people I play with. Because each creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature in play of the same creature type. This counts for everybody. So if everybody has an elf or two, they get all the benefits from your elves. A couple goblins here and there. Maybe someone has a spirit and someone else has a spirit. Like it takes a little while to get everybody's power and toughness right, and then someone plays like 3 more creatures and it all gets set. And yeah. But I want a big army. I want them huge. I don't care about the slowdown. I want to win. Got Overwhelming Stampede, a sorcery for 5. Until the end of turn, creatures you control gain trample and +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. You're going to have big creatures. Like I said, Door of Destinies, Jiraga Warcaller, the little elf lords that you have out. Your guys are going to get very big. And +X/+X could be +15/+15 if people don't deal with your elves fast enough. Really nice. And lastly, we got Kamal Fisticrosa, Azuri Renegades. Sexier, brother. Even though he's not an elf. 4/3 for 6. Instead of regenerating like Azuri, target land becomes a 1/1 creature until the end of turn. It's still a land for the same 1 green cost. And for the 2 colorless 3 green cost, instead of being like Azuri Renegade Leader where it's the elves you control, creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until the end of turn. So Kamal can pump up your Dryad Arbor and you're like 2 other creatures that aren't elves in this deck. But again, it's a repeatable, or both abilities are repeatable as many times as you have the mana for a turn. So you can make a lot of your lands creatures, you can give them plus however the hell many you want, and swing in to beat some face. These are kind of creatures that didn't have much of a home as far as a category goes. Taunting Elf, I absolutely love this guy. If you have ways to give him haste You can Alpha Strike, and it's so good. It's 0/1 for 1. All creatures able to block taunting Elf do so. So it doesn't matter what they have out there. They all have to block Taunting Elf. It's a great way to piss people off. I've pissed my sister off a few times with it, and it's such a good feeling. Got Kyrian Ranger, a great way to untap your big mana producers and be able to retap them for extra mana for the simple cost of returning a forest to your hand. Not bad. Wirewood Symbiote, much like Kyrian Ranger, instead of returning a forest, you return an elf you control to your hand, and then untap target creature. So again, all your mana producers, you can untap them. Pretty sweet. Got Seeker of Skybreak, a 2/1 for 2. Untap target creature by tapping it. Again, all your big mana producers, you're going to want to be able to tap them more than once a turn. This is really nice. Or, let's say you have enough mana, but somehow you got your life total down. Well, that's okay, because you can untap Well-Wisher to be able to tap her twice. And you gain 1 life for each elf in play. Again, really good because it counts all elves, not just yours. Eladamri, Lord of Leaves. A 2/2 for 2. All elves gain Forest Walk. Again, green's very popular in EDH, so Forest Walk is nice. But the second ability, elves cannot be the target of spells or abilities. Little mini asceticism on a stick is really nice. One of the few ways that you actually have to protect your creatures in this deck. Jagged Scar Archers, one of the few ways you have to deal with opponents' flyers in the deck. For 3, its power and toughness are equal to the number of elves you control, and you can tap it and deal damage equal to its power to target creature with flying. Just really nice. Again, Door of Destinies, Draga Warcaller, all your lords. He's going to get big, they're going to get big, they are going to get big, and they can just do some nasty damage to a flyer that's getting in your way. Yeva, Nature's Herald. I'm not sold on her. I've been debating putting an Alchemist's Refuge in instead, but I'm not sure. So as it stands now, she's in the deck. A 4/4 for 4. Flash, green creatures you can be cast as if they had flash. Really good about this is with Door of Destinies, Draga. Again, I'm going to keep repeating myself here. With all the guys that make your guys big, you can flash in like some 10/10s to get some nasty blocks in that your opponents aren't expecting. This is pretty nice. Ren's Run Packmaster. Okay, so not only is it a 5/5 for 4, it's an elf. You champion an elf, which kind of sucks depending on what you have on the battlefield, but pretty much remove an elf from the game, and if Packmaster dies or leaves play, return that card into play. But with the 5/5 for 4 that you just cast, and with all the mana you have available to you, for 2 colorless and a green, put a 2/2 wolf creature token onto the area to play. You can do this many times per turn. Like I said, you're going to have a lot of mana. And each wolf you control has Death Touch. That's absolutely brutal for anybody you're facing that has a bunch of ground game, because you could just make little Death Touch chumpers all day long. Lysolana Huntmaster, a 3/3 for 4. Whenever you cast an elf spell, you may put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token onto the battlefield. Again, warriors, really good with the Bramblewood Paragon. Give them the +1/+1, immediately give them trample, so you get putting out 2/2s with trample. But if anything, you're doubling the amount of elves you control every time you cast one. Let me rephrase that. When you cast an elf, you're pretty much getting 2 elves instead of 1. That's the way I should have said it. Elvish Soul Tiller, a 5/4 for 5. Pretty cool ability. If you can't prevent a board wipe early on or regenerate, and you find yourself just having a bunch of elves in your graveyard, or if you just had to chump block a lot, when Soul Tiller is put into the graveyard from play, choose a creature type, shuffle all creatures of that type back or from your graveyard into your library. So you can put them back into your library to get them in other ways, to tutor them up, to just draw them off of all the Edric draws that you're going to get. Really nice recursion spell for your creatures. These spells are kind of just ways to get extra card advantage. Skull Clamp. A lot of you guys are very tiny, so they'll probably die just from equipping Skull Clamp early on, and you get to draw 2 cards off of it, which is really nice. You can also just attach it to all the tokens you make. Coiling Oracle. You either get a land, or you get to draw a card. And it's a Snake Elf Druid, which we all knew those existed. Slate of Ancestry. Very good card. Artifact for 4 colorless. For 4 colorless, tap it, discard your hand, draw a card for each creature you control. Again, you're going to have a lot of creatures. You're going to be drawing 10 plus cards some of the time. And the good thing about it is you can keep doing it. It is repeatable. Not a turn, but each turn you can do it if you want. Memory Jar. Artifact for 5 colorless. Tap it, sacrifice it. You set your hand to the side, draw 7 cards, play those, or play as many of those cards as you can, and then at the end of the turn, put whatever cards you could into your graveyard, and then grab the rest of the cards that you put around or to the side. The only bad thing is everybody does this, so it's not just you. And you also have to sacrifice Memory Jar. But when you use Memory Jar, chances are your opponents are going to be tapped out or not have as much mana available as you will on your turn. So you're most likely going to be able to play those 7 cards that you draw, which is nice. Sages of the Anima. The reason I wanted to do green-blue elves, it's a 3/4 for 5. It's an elf wizard. And if you would draw a card instead, reveal the top 3 cards of your library, put all creature cards revealed this way into your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So not only if you when you whiff, which might happen a time or two, those cards don't go to the graveyard, they go to the bottom of the library, which is nice. Plus, with Edric, you're going to be drawing so often that each time you get to look at the top 3 cards is ridiculous. And there's so many creatures in here that you're going to get so much card advantage. And just make sure you got a Reliquary Tower out or other ways to make your hand size not be a max of 7. Soul of the Harvest. Not completely sold on this guy yet. 6/6 for 6, trample. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. The only bad thing is that a lot of the spells in the deck make tokens, or the creatures make tokens, so him not being able to take advantage of that kind of sucks. If you guys have a cut for him, or a replacement for him, let me know. He might not stick around forever. Worldly Tutor. We're in the Tutor package now. An instant for 1 green. Search your library for a creature card. Put it on top of your library. Really nice. You can get any creature. Chances are I'm going to get a repeatable tutor since he is a one-time deal. Crop Rotation, a land tutor. An instant for 1 green, sacrifice a land, search your library for land to put it into play. This works really well with your Wirewood Lodge, Gaia's Cradle, Manamo. Just really, really solid. Ooh, shiny Fauna Shaman. Fauna Shaman. One of the targets, possibly for Worldly Tutor. A 2/2 for 2. Pay a green, tap it, discard a creature card, search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand. So it's a survival of the fittest on a little elf chickie, which is nice. But I know what you're saying. Worldly Tutor puts the card on top of your library, Fauna Shaman puts it in your hand. If only there was a way to get cards onto the battlefield. Here you go. We got Skyshroud Poacher. It is a rebel, and it is a dedicated elf tutor. 2/2 for 4. You can pay 3 colorless, tap it, search your library for an elf card, put that card into play. That's awesome. You can go get any elf you freaking want, and so many of your elves do so much good stuff that it's just really nice. I absolutely love this card. Primal Command. It's in the tutor section because more often than not I'm going to use the tutor ability or the graveyard ability. Gaining 7 life is not very good because your Well-Wisher will most likely do more work, and you can untap her if you want. And there are other ways to bounce permanents, so I probably won't waste one of Primal Command's abilities with that one. Green Sun Zenith. Really good. You can get a Dried Arbor early, get some extra mana ramp, or again, you can search for any green creature. Like I said, if I can, most likely I'm going to search one of my other tutors, just because I like having the ability to tutor as many times as I want. And Green Sun is good because it goes back into your library. Alright, now we're into the very, very small removal package. Got Cyclonic Rift. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand, or you can overload it for 6 in a blue, and do that for every, or we'll say each, non-land permanent you don't control. And this affects all your opponents, so if you're playing multiplayer, it's brutal. And you're going to have 7 mana so easily. Yeah. Have Beast Within, a fantastic green removal. And the good thing is it It can target lands. It can target anything. So getting rid of like a Vault of the Archangel or a Gavany Township that's starting to piss you off and give them a 3/3 Beast Warrior or Beast token is really nice. Got Croson Grip. Split second ability is nice. And destroy target artifact or enchantment. It's EDH. There's going to be a ton of artifacts and enchantments out there. You're going to want to destroy some of them, I guarantee it. Tradewind Rider. I think the only creature in here that is not an elf outside of Skyshroud Poacher. Tradewind Rider is a 1/4 for 4, flying, tap it, tap 2 untapped creatures you control, return target permanent to its owner's hand. You have a lot of elves. Tapping 2 of them instead of blocking or attacking isn't going to hurt you that much later on. And being able to bounce any permanent of your opponents each turn is really nice. Again, a reason why I wouldn't use Primal Command's bounce ability, because Tradewind Rider does exist. We're into the little clone package, which I've been using as a quasi-removal suite, but that's not going to last for much longer with the new rule changes coming up. So Phyrexian Metamorph, the good thing about him is if I don't have the blue mana early on, I can just pay the life, and it can copy an artifact too. Again, EDH, you're going to have a lot of artifacts and a lot of enchantments. So with having a lot of artifacts, being able to copy some of your opponent's artifacts is really nice. Rider of Replication. For 2 and 2 blue, put a token on the battlefield that's copy of target creature. That's not bad, but you have a lot of mana, so you're going to want to kick this bad boy. So for 7 colorless and 2 blue, put 5 tokens that are a copy of target creature. You can copy your opponent's big guys, or you can copy your own. You can make a bunch of Elvish Archdruids if you want, and just have access to oodles and boodles of mana. Just really nice. Good to have options. Progenitor Mimic, a new addition from Dragon's Maze. I haven't really tested this guy too much, so I'm not sure, but he seems fun. For 6, have him enter as a copy of a target creature on the battlefield, and then each upkeep, as long as he stays on the battlefield, he'll keep making a token each upkeep, or each one of your upkeeps, which is really nice. Again, you can copy one of their big guys, or you can copy some of your stuff. You never know. Again, good to have options. Urza's Incubator, a great card in tribal decks. We're into the little cheats package, or ways to make things cheaper. When Urza's Incubator comes into play, choose a creature type. You're going to be choosing elf. And creatures of the chosen type cost 2 colorless less to play. The only bad thing about this is most elves, their main cost is going to be forest. Their colorless cost usually isn't huge, but being able to save 1 or 2 here and there mana is really nice. Lets you cast something else. Allurin, a global enchantment for 4. The only bad thing about Allurin is it does help your opponents, but your deck is going to have a lot more little dudes than theirs. Any player may play a creature card with total or converted mana cost 3 or less whenever he or she could play an instant, and without paying its cost. If you have like a Slate of Ancestry out, you get all those cards, you can drop 80% of those cards just right onto the table. It gets ridiculous. But again, it does help your opponents, so be wary of that. Genesis Wave. What are you going to do with all that mana? You're going to play Genesis Wave. X colorless, 3 green. Reveal the top X cards of your library and put any number of permanent cards with converted cost X or less onto the battlefield. You can do this for such a large number, and everything you have like has a converted mana cost of 4 and under. You're going to be able to put all of them out. It's going to be nice. Just so nice. We got a Concordant Crossroads. These are kind of spells that really didn't have a place. Another global enchantment. Creatures can attack or use abilities that include tap in the activation as soon as they come into play. So again, it's global. Your opponent's creatures are going to be able to attack, use their abilities, so will yours. But hopefully you're going to be playing 5 spells to their 1. So, yeah, just hopefully it benefits you a lot more. Got Counterspell. One of the few counterspells in this deck. I'm mainly aggro. I want to get in there. I want to beat face. I don't want to spend my time countering stuff, but having a counterspell every now and then is nice. So for 2 blue, counter target spell. You might prevent a board wipe. You might prevent them from stealing one of your big guys. You never know. Mystic Snake, the second of the counter spells. It's a 2/2 for 4. Has flash, and when it comes into play, counter target spell. So if anything, I get a snake out of it, which is nice. Got a Nissa Ravane. I don't use her +1 ability, or her top +1 ability, because I don't think Nissa's Chosen is that good of a card. But I do use the second +1 ability, which is gaining 2 life for each elf you control. That's fantastic. You're going to have a lot of elves, you're going to gain a lot of life. You have her and Well-Wisher out, it's going to get brutal. But if for some reason I can keep Nissa around until she cracks ultimate, it's game over. Search your library for any number of elf creature cards, put them onto the battlefield. You have a Concordant Crossroads out, they all have haste. Just get in for the win. But she never lives to to 7 loyalty counters, and she never will. Elvish Promenade. Put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token into play for each elf you control. Again, elf warrior with Bramblewood Paragon is really nice. Get the extra +1/+1 counter on it. What's cool about this thing is it is a tribal sorcery, so it is an elf spell, which helps. And pretty much double the amount of elves you control is really nice. Got Praetor's Council. Again, throughout the game, your creatures are going to be going into the graveyard. It just happens. And for the cost of 8, the sorcery, return all cards from your graveyard into your hand. You have no maximum hand size, so again, a Reliquary Tower effect. But it's all cards, it's not just creature cards. So if they get rid of your Door of Destinies, some of your enchantments that you need, you can get those back when you play Praetor's Council. We have Eldrazi Monument, one of the few ways to protect your creatures in this deck. Because I want it to be fair, I would do like an Akroma's Memorial, but that's just ridiculous, and 1v1, I don't find that fair, especially as fast as this deck is. But Eldrazi Monument, 5 colorless. Creatures you control get +1/+1, have flying and are indestructible. The flying is nice, the +1/+1 really doesn't matter all that much, your guys are going to be huge anyways, but indestructible is really good. The only downside is at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. If you can't, sacrifice Eldrazi Monument. You have a lot of creatures you can be able to sacrifice, or you're going to be able to sacrifice a few of them if need be, or if you have Imperious Perfect out, you can just keep making tokens to sacrifice. It's not a huge deal. And lastly, we have Swiftfoot Boots. It's a good way to give haste, and a good way to protect your commander or your bigger mana producers, your Jiraga, just the guys that matter, because some of the elves just aren't that great, so who cares about protecting them? Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed that. I love elves. If you didn't know that, I think they're great. Just a bunch of little guys, just pump them up, get in to beat some face. I will have other deck techs up, so if you guys have any criticisms or critiques as to the way this was presented, let me know. I know it was a little bit long-winded, but I was trying to explain like every possible combination. If that's too much, let me know, and I'll be more concise next time. That being said, thank you guys so much if you stayed around for the entire 30 minutes, and hopefully if you guys choose to play this deck, you have some great success with it. Hey guys, if you liked this video, do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. Also, feel free to click on the videos down below to see other great content my channel has to offer. I can't promise you that it's going to be entertaining. I can't promise you that it'll be educational and that you'll learn something, but I can make you one promise, and that is that every single video I upload will have at least one fat person in it.